Hey there. Um, Excuse my location. I had to get in the shade so I wouldn't have any glare on the lens, and my goats are following me down the fence. Just excuse their bad behavior back there. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some thoughts I've had recently about living in this area. As most of you know, I moved to Northwest Arkansas from Northwest Louisiana. Since moving here, of course, I did not get to go to the location I really wanted to go to, but I got close, and I got close enough so that I could research some areas should I decide to do that. And I've been thinking a lot more about those areas, the higher elevations. The elevation here is 1,100 feet. The elevation I was looking for was closer to 2,000 feet. There's a lot of people that might wonder, what the heck? Like, what does it matter what the elevation is? Well, I'll get to that. But what I wanted to say is, I've met quite a few people here who are living on their own, and some of these people are older in years, and they're single. There's a man that I know of trying to do this all by himself, and he has little to no help, and life is a little bit difficult for him. I believe that even if you move here as a family, let's just say you've got a couple of children and you're a husband and wife, and maybe you even have a sister and brother-in-law that are going to move with you, and y'all are going to start a small homestead. In my opinion, after seeing the things that I've seen with people in these circumstances, including myself, I believe that that's really doing it on your own. I believe that if you're going to have any chance to survive and have a decent life without a lot of hardships, you really need help. You need a lot more help than just a couple of people. That's become very, very evident to me over this past year of being here. I got here back around March the 26th of 2018, and now it's the end of June 2019. So I'm speaking from pretty good experience that it's not easy by yourself. It's really not. And it's much better if you have help of people who are like-minded and who have the same goals, people who will work with you and not against you. I leave here, I want to go to where I want to be working on building a community. That's the original reason I wanted to move here, to build a community of like-minded people. Okay, so let me discuss like-minded people and what does that mean to me. Well, like-minded people would be people who have the same goals, good people, honest people who want to have a self-sufficient lifestyle, who don't want to depend on the government or government entities to support them, who want to be sovereign should anything happen with our power grid or whatever. People that are willing to do the work to make that happen, of course. There's a lot of people, I think most people are not wanting to go that direction. I was listening to some video clips of a documentary done by InfoWars. I'm not really a big fan of his, but I am interested in what this guy Joel Skousen had to say. He wrote a book called Strategic Relocation. It's a really interesting book where he goes through every state in the United States and all the countries, and he rates these countries as far as what its rating would be out of 1 to 5 stars, I believe, based on different things like the crime rate, the number of people there, the cost of living, etc., as to whether that would be a good place to go, a safe place to go should stuff start to happen. And I'm going to play a few clips. I hope I don't get in trouble for this and my YouTube channel get taken down, but if it does, I'll just start another one. So
most people cannot get rural right now. They can't make a living, just impossible. So this is a solution for everyone. But let's talk about this major threat. The number one that I concentrate on is not terrorism. It's not natural disaster. It's not even government or war. The major threat is population density, because every crisis that threatens, even a local crisis, can turn exponential because of close proximity to other people who cannot help themselves. Even good people panic in a crisis. You don't have to be evil. It doesn't have to be just a Watts. When you have no food after 3 days, all of the store shelves are empty. If there's no water, it's exacerbated. If there's no electricity, there's going to be no gasoline. People are limited. You won't even be able to walk out of town because of the danger of threat from people interacting with other people. This is the most populous and most dense area in the entire United States, and these three areas on the West Coast around Seattle, Los Angeles, and San Diego are also heavily, or San Francisco and Los Angeles are heavily populated. In a crisis, any crisis in where infrastructure is cut off, these people are going to start to migrate outward. There is nothing there. There's no job to keep them. Suddenly, everybody wants to be relocated strategically. And there's a lot of people thinking about it. That's why the prepper movement is so big. A lot of people can't do anything about it. I would say, I think there's a ratio of about 10 to 1. People thinking about preparedness versus those that are actually preparing. So preparedness has increased maybe tenfold in the past 2 years. That means there's 200-fold people who are thinking about it but aren't going to be prepared. But nevertheless, when these things start to fall out, they're going to be fleeing as fast as they can with everyone else. And so it's important to track how those people are going to leave those major cities when you make decisions about leaving, especially if you decide that you're going to move out into the periphery of these areas. We also have the example of World War II. World War II in Germany, we have the example of the Russians coming in, and every German city was being emptied out to get away from the Russians. They did not want to be occupied. Literally, entire cities were emptying out, taking to the roads. And so we know how far they go far afield of the roads trying to get food and water and hitting the farmhouses. And basically, it was within about 5 to 7 miles apart from every road where those farms would all be looted. And so you have to take those kinds of things into consideration when you're considering, yes, going rural, what may look rural. That's what I call strategic thinking. Can't just think about how nice and idyllic it is in rural Austin, out in the suburbs. You've got to look, how far am I away from a major county road that goes out there and that's going to be streaming with refugees. There's going to be famine. They're going to be out of water, out of gas. They're going to start spanning out within walking distance. And that, for most people that are tired and hungry and modern-day people, is about 5 miles. Because of that high population density, none of these states rate anything above 3 in the East Coast. Tennessee is the highest-rated state because it's got the Cumberland Plateau. There's this big Appalachian mountain chain here, which kind of is a blocking area for the major population center here. The Cumberland Plateau in Tennessee is a high 1,000-foot plateau. People will tend to infiltrate through the mountains, over the mountains, through the valleys. And when they get into the Tennessee valleys, they're very tempting to stay in the valleys. Nobody wants to climb up a 1,000-foot plateau where there's not a lot of people. That's one of the reasons why this is very good. For the Northeast, they need, there's this Northeast region of the wooded areas of Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, and upstate New York. Those are the only safe areas. The problem strategically is that once you retreat up there, you're stuck. If it becomes untenable, you can't get back west because these population flows will flow this way and cut off any retreat unless you go up through Canada, if one wants to try to get further west if this becomes untenable. The major refugee flows coming out of the East Coast will be in this population area here. They'll head out through Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Some will go north along that. Some will go south this way, trying to avoid the mountains. And that's why we give a lower rating to the southeast states, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. They'll also have all of the refugees flowing out of Florida. This is a 0-rated state as well because it's untenable for survival of this amount of population, and most people will tend to flee south and then west towards Louisiana and Texas.
So that's going to make Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama a disaster zone.
The only good areas that I recommend in these southeastern areas are the northern hill country and mountainous areas. The Ozarks of Arkansas are a good area, southern Missouri. That's the primary destination.
Yeah, a lot of elites are building bunkers in that area.
That's right, they are.
I don't agree with a lot of the things that he believes, but I do believe he has some very, very good points about locating yourself or relocating yourself. He refers to relocating yourself as insurance, in a safe location, that is. I'm not convinced that there could be a 100% foolproof safe place, but he does have some interesting ideas. He says he believes that in one day, America will go from day to night, and that if you haven't prepared in advance, that there's not going to be enough time to prepare. And I think you all probably feel the same way. He says don't even think about getting out on the highway, because the highways are going to be clogged with people trying to get out. I don't know if you remember Katrina, but that was a nightmare. People were stuck on the interstate in sweltering hot weather, dying along the interstate because they couldn't get out. Of course, he talks about things that we already know, that the government wants people in urban city areas because that way they can control them should something go wrong, and they can be more easily controlled in the cities. But he says, like we all know, that if you are in the cities, you are likely to be cut off from all food and water eventually, which is not good. The problem that I hear from most people about moving out into a rural area is the lack of a way to earn a living. So I have felt the same way, which is one of the reasons I'm in the situation that I'm in. I have a lot of work to do here. I don't make a lot of money, but I do make enough to get by, and that's all I really care about. I don't care about making a ton of money. However, it would be nice to, after looking at some of the properties I've looked at lately, it would be nice to have around $1 million. So what I wanted to propose, and I just wanted to get some ideas from the viewers out there, the few that I have, an idea that's been going through my mind off and on for the past 2 weeks or so, really strongly, about creating a village, and possibly villages within villages of like-minded people, completely, totally off the grid, but with conveniences of what you would not usually find on off-the-grid properties. I don't really want to go into detail about a lot of it right now, but what I'm talking about is a community that's safe, where you don't feel bad about letting your children walk down the street or the road. I'm not talking about a commune. You could call it that if you want to, but I like my privacy. I really, really do. I don't want to have my house right up against somebody else's. I would like to have a completely secluded place, myself and my animals, my goats, whatever else I've got, and I would like to live a happy, serene life, with like-minded people. But I don't want to be right on top of people, and I'm sure you don't either. And if you do, well, you can build yours that way. I'm talking about villages, where there might be like a little circle in the middle of town, where people might actually start small businesses, maybe bakery, cheese making, of course gardening. And I've already thought a lot about the gardening deal, because if there is a food shortage of any kind, we would have all the food we could eat, and as far as vegetables go. I would love for this to be a vegetarian community, because I don't want anyone coming and trying to kill my beautiful goats. Yeah, there he is right there. That's the destroyer, by the way. And he really knows how to destroy things, just in case you wondered. Oh, and that's Moses. Moses, yep, all my goats came with me. I would love to live on a property where I could get all the vegetables I could eat seasonal produce, and it's possible that we could figure out how to earn money from that property by kind of doing things that we could sell, like selling produce, selling plants, selling seeds. We could have a garden just for seed saving, and you just never know what it could turn out to be. I mean, it could. I really would like to get at least 500 acres. but I honestly don't think that's enough. But 500 acres with a couple of really nice cave systems, a couple of springs, a nice creek. I don't want to be around or close to any rivers for obvious reasons. I know how hard it is, especially if you work, if you have a family to raise. It's really difficult because, you know, you want to stay wherever your money is because you want to provide for your family. But once, I just can't imagine being in the city when things really start to go south, because like this guy, Mr. Skousen, said, I mean, there's not going to be time to get out. You don't want to be on the highway. You're just going to have to hunker down wherever you are. So,
The Ozarks of Arkansas are a good area, southern Missouri. That's the primary destination.
Yeah, a lot of
in the
elites
Midwest.
are building bunkers in that area.
That's right, they are.